This film is about a young man named Tony and his ex-wife Layla. At that time, Tony has a son, and they take turns taking care of him when the other is working. He likes to spend time with his son by watching dirt bike shows because racing is his hobby and he enjoys it. Every night, after his son goes to sleep, Tony goes to the warehouse to work on his motorbike. In the morning, before going to work, he takes his son to Layla. Tony works as an operator in a warehouse, but his main job is being a racer. Before every race, Tony focuses and prepares himself mentally and physically. He trains hard and comes up with good strategies to be ready for the race. When he is about to race, all his thoughts and feelings are on the racetrack. When the race started, Tony did very well. He drove really fast and passed several racers in front of him. In that moment, Tony focused all his thoughts on the track, showing his best skills without any distractions. He carefully handled every turn and straight line. Slowly, he moved up in position and finally became the leader, beating all his competitors. But when Tony thought everything was going well and he was close to winning, his motorbike engine had problems. It was really bad luck, and he had to stop, giving up his chance to win the race. While he was alone, a man approached him. This man was impressed by Tony's skills and offered him a chance to join Ducati's racer selection. Knowing this was a big opportunity for his career, Tony accepted. The team's goal was to win superbike races and then join MotoGP. Now, they were all here for training and selection. Tony felt very confident in his abilities. There, he gave his best and outperformed all his competitors. The team leader saw this and was amazed by him. The next day, Tony wanted to meet Layla to tell her the news. The area where she lived was controlled by one of Mouse's gangs. Turns out, Tony and Musa had been friends since childhood, like brothers. He knew about Mouse's business but didn't want to get involved. When Tony was climbing the stairs, he ran into a group of mysterious people. He saw the broken door and messy room, realizing they had just come to see Layla. It turns out Layla was a courier for illegal goods, and her current boyfriend had run away with the goods. The boss wanted money for the lost items. At that time, Layla was given 1 week to pay off her debts. Even though Layla made bad choices, Tony wanted to help her. He took her and their son to live at his house for a while. They would stay there until the problem was solved. The next morning, Tony went back to pick up his motorbike. Luckily, Musa had kept it safe. There, Tony told him about the problem and that he wanted to meet the person who came to see Layla. As the leader of the area, Musa knew who it was. He warned Tony not to get involved with people like them. But Tony had to do it to save Layla. Musa finally told him that the person was named Jordan. Jordan worked for Miguel, Mouse's business rival. Soon after, Tony went to their headquarters right away. When he got there, he asked to see Jordan. The waiter called Jordan, who already knew about Tony and Layla. Jordan gave Tony 1 week to pay the debt. At that time, Tony was confused and didn't know what to do. Suddenly, Miguel was outside looking at Tony's motorbike. He knew Tony was a racer. Then, Miguel offered Tony a job as his courier to pay off Layla's debt. At first, Tony refused because it would affect his racing career. But if he didn't accept, Layla and their son would be in danger. No one else could protect them. Without telling anyone about this, Tony decided to accept the offer. After meeting Jordan, Tony was taken by car to a different place. There, Tony saw a motorbike and was given a bag by a mysterious person. He had to take the bag to the place where he met Jordan, which was 120 kilometers away. At that moment, Tony had to use the toll road and stop at a rest area to refuel, where a group would be waiting for him. With no other choice, Tony started his journey. He rode his motorbike fast, not paying attention to other vehicles. Then, he entered the toll road as instructed. Everything went smoothly until he reached the rest area to refuel. Tony hoped things would stay calm until he arrived. But then, he saw a police car behind him. Shockingly, the car easily caught up with him because of Tony's high speed. But there, Tony didn't want to get caught, so he quickly turned and went the opposite way. He almost got hit several times, but luckily, he survived. Because of his daring moves, Tony escaped the police and reached his destination. Soon after, Jordan took the bag and gave it to Miguel. Miguel was happy with Tony's work. To pay off Layla's debt, Tony had to work for Miguel for 2 months. With no other choice, he agreed. Then, Miguel gave Tony a special phone to receive mission calls. Finally, Tony's first task was done, but he still had almost 2 months of work left. Exhausted, Tony was late for his regular job. After work, he rushed to train with his racing team. Even though he was tired, he performed well. The team principal reminded him to keep up his performance. As the oldest, Tony faced higher expectations and had to beat all his competitors to secure his spot. When Tony was going home, Miguel and Jordan suddenly appeared. They scolded Tony for not answering his phone. Even though it was late, they took Tony to do another mission. Just like before, he had to carry a package on the toll road. This time, the motorbike police saw him and chased him quickly. Tony filled up his fuel before the police arrived, but they were so close that he had to leave without fully refueling. There, Tony's motorbike was at maximum speed, but the police were catching up. But Tony tricked them by taking a different route and managed to escape. However, he knew it wouldn't always be this easy. Then, he asked for a faster motorbike and 2 motorbikes so he wouldn't have to stop for fuel. At home, Tony often daydreamed, thinking about his missions. Layla noticed something was wrong. Then, Tony finally told her the truth. He asked Layla not to worry because he was handling everything. With this, Layla and their son could return to their flat and live normally. Meanwhile, Tony kept working for Miguel as agreed. Unexpectedly, Miguel granted all of Tony's requests. Now, Tony could do his missions safely with his new strategy. He also had to keep up with his racing training and warehouse job. There was no time to rest because he had to go on another mission that night. Soon after, Miguel gave Tony drugs to boost his adrenaline. Because he was forced and very tired, Tony took them. He started his motorbike quickly. Having traveled the toll road many times, he was confident. With the spare motorbike, he could keep going without stopping. The plan worked, and Tony decided to use this strategy for future missions. Turns out, 3 activities that Tony does every day drain his energy and thoughts. He became increasingly weak and lost his concentration. However, he has to do everything because of the agreement he made. To maintain his stamina, Tony was forced to keep taking the medicine he was given before. He no longer cares about the side effects because the important thing is that he can carry out all his activities. Then, the head of his racing team noticed that Tony's physical condition looked different. However, Tony didn't want to talk about his problem and kept it a secret. Suddenly, Miguel contacted Tony and told him to come to his place because there was a change of plans. The border was closed by the police to avoid riots caused by demonstrators. Miguel didn't want his work to stop, so he asked Tony for advice. In these conditions, Tony needed a vehicle that could go through all terrains, like a trail motorbike. This delivery was risky, not only because he could get caught, but also because he could lose his life. All this time, Musa was watching Tony and finally met him. Musa didn't want Tony to fall deeper with people like them. However, Tony knew what he was doing and was ready to accept the consequences. That night, everyone went to meet Farid, the seller of goods this time. Farid was a cunning person, so Miguel was always wary of him. Then, all preparations were done, and Tony got the route and destination. After a few minutes, the road was closed by the police. Unfortunately, Tony had to find another way. Luckily, he was on a tricycle, so he could go to different places. He needed to stay alert while passing through demonstrators. After climbing some stairs, he was close to his destination. He thought he was safe, but some people were waiting for him. There, Tony realized they were after the package he was carrying. He ran and looked for a place to hide. When he had the chance, he told Miguel about the incident. Tony needed to leave quickly and go to the specified location. Soon after, Jordan arrived and took him away. Thankfully, Tony was safe along with the package. The next day, Miguel figured out that the attack was Farid's plan. To get rid of evidence, Miguel had to destroy the car he used last night. In this world, everyone had to be suspicious of each other, including their business partners and friends. Because of what happened, Tony's fatigue was at its peak. It was already morning, and he had no time to rest. He became weak and got a nosebleed. But he had no choice and had to keep going. In this condition, Tony's performance dropped a lot. His vision became blurry, causing him to fall. It was too late, and he had no second chance. His dream of becoming a professional racer was over. Now, Tony had to finish the agreement with Miguel. The next mission was the final one. Even though Miguel wanted him to keep working together, Tony refused. He just wanted this to end quickly and leave. Despite sacrificing a lot for Layla, Tony didn't regret it. For the final mission, Tony had to deliver a package to the transaction location. Jordan was there to negotiate with the buyer. Fortunately, everything went smoothly. However, when Tony wanted to leave, Jordan told him to be ready for the next day. Hearing that Tony refused because his deal with Miguel ended that day, Jordan threatened to kill Layla if Tony didn't comply. Then, Tony realized that if this continued, he would be trapped forever. Without thinking, he returned to Jordan and beat him up. His blows finally cost Jordan his life. Immediately, Tony contacted Musa for help to sort things out. Tony knew that after this, Miguel would target him, but he had a plan. At that time, Tony wanted to help Musa eliminate Miguel by leaking his secret base and getting all the documents. This way, they could finish him off. As predicted, Miguel came to Tony because Jordan disappeared. Tony pretended not to know and lied that Jordan was working with Farid. Rushing, Miguel took him, followed by Musa, who was already ready. The next day, Musa kept following Miguel, looking for the right time to catch him. Unfortunately, Miguel ran a red light and Musa lost him. And Tony, who was with Miguel, was taken to another warehouse. This warehouse stored all their goods, and they had to help move them. When he had a chance, Tony sent his location to Musa. Meanwhile, Mouse's men saw people from Miguel's group asking about Farid. They found out the truth and told Miguel that Tony had tricked him. In that moment, Musa knew Tony's life was in danger and hurried to help him. Musa called Tony and told him to leave immediately. Realizing the danger, Tony ran and found a motorbike to escape. But in his panic, he didn't see a car in front of him and crashed. Shortly after, Miguel dragged Tony and put him in the trunk. There, Tony felt hopeless, thinking there was no way out. Suddenly, the car was hit by gunfire and rolled over. The first person Tony saw was Musa, who had come to save him. Musa and his group had defeated Miguel, and they all left safely. It's all over, and Tony's burden is gone. Even though his dreams were crushed, Tony had to live for his family, the people he had been protecting. Now, he looks for challenges at night, not racing against other racers, but against the police. The film ends. The moral lesson from this film is always answer your phone and watch out for red lights, or you might end up in a wild motorbike chase and getting saved by your best buddy.